Hey, Facebook. Welcome to everyone tuning in from all over. I am coming live from my bedroom in Cape Town, South Africa. It's Tuesday, and that means meet the team. It is now 7:30 GMT plus 2. Please drop in the comments where you are joining us from. Before we start tonight, we would like to show you the next video. Have a look at it, please. Feed our crew. Firstly, we would like to say thank you to this wonderful initiative and thank you for looking out for the technical staff. And a massive thank you to all of you for sharing this video and supporting them. If you can help, please do. Help us help someone else. The link to donate is below, popping up now. If you can donate, please do. And now, lastly, before we start this segment, I just quickly want to explain what this all is about. Meet the team. We are showcasing artists who do not see on stage, but their artistry off stage and behind the scenes. Everyone knows what theatre is. However, they may not know how all the magic happens. How we go from a star-lit night in Paris to the smoke-filled battlegrounds of Vietnam. How to transport the audience and artists with soundscape, how decisions are made from cutting a costume piece, line, and even scenes. What is a prompt copy? Who says what happens when? Some who are part of a downstage production team, and others local and international industry experts. With that said, let's jump in. We are very honored to have a very familiar name in the industry join us today. Also, one of my biggest mentors. He's known for his ample different roles he fulfills in the industry, but today we will be talking to him as a designer and a technical trainer. Let's welcome Alfred Rietmann.
Good evening, Dion.
Alfred. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm very well. As you can see, I've got my name as Raab and my phantom badge on. And next to me is my little cat. It's not Gus the theatre cat, but it's Mr. Tiggs. So if I suddenly do funny movements, that means Mr. Tigg is digging into my parts where he's lying.
Well, we absolutely love it. I think that's a wonderful thing of us all working from home at the moment. The one good thing is that we get to spend some decent time with our animals.
Absolutely.
I think let's jump right in. Firstly, there's a little introduction, icebreaker, personal section. Why don't you tell us about yourself, your name, age, where you're currently calling us from, something interesting about yourself?
I'm completely crazy, but yeah, my name is Alfred Rietmann. Swiss born, but brought up in Cape Town. Went to Milnerton Primary, Milnerton High School, where I did a lot of the starting bits of my theatre career. I dabbled in puppetry and musicals, wrote my own plays, artikafie, toneelfeeste en goeters. And I mean, most of my school years, when I wasn't playing tennis, I was in the school hall doing the most absurd things I could possibly do. I had a little puppet theatre. I had two puppet theatres, a glove puppet stage and a marionette stage. And my little marionette stage actually even had a little revolve that the sets could turn, little hand crank thing that I made out of my brother's fishing tackle gedoente. But yeah, and that's where I started. From there, I went to UCT. I studied drama, performance diploma, bilingual performance diploma, speech and drama, because I wanted to be an actor. And I got so involved in all the technical stuff because in those days we were very lucky. We had courses in makeup, in costume design, set design, hands-on, a lot of practical work. We had to work for our first 2 years at drama school. We had to work backstage all the time. We had to help build the sets. We had to help make the costumes, set the wigs. So that was really great experience. From there on, I went to do my little bit for the Volk in Fatherland and went to the Wehrmacht. But I was very lucky. I ended up as a medic in the sick bay, and I had a civilian sister, Sister Marie, Minx Marie, my other mother, who was very sympathetic towards my theatrical leanings. And she made it possible for me to actually write and produce 2 plays while I was there. I also ended up doing a cabaret at a place called Scruples Theatre Bar in Pretoria, notorious at the time, and that's where my drag career started. Yes, I was once young and beautiful, never the same at the same time. From there on, I came back to Cape Town. I got involved in theatre, did a lot of musicals, performed in musicals, played Rolf in The Sound of Music, did all the shows. I performed then Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Hello Dolly, Mame Singing in the Rain, The Great Waltz, you name it, I did them. But I was always, the technical side has always been I was a very bad performer because I got distracted. I would still be watching the tabs go out when I'm supposed to be checking out the audience. Uh, so, that was my introduction, and mostly at Artscape. I've worked all over the place. And then eventually I got bored with that. I went into stage management with what was then Cape Opera, now Cape Town Opera. I was senior stage manager. I became resident assistant director for Cape Town Opera and worked with fabulous people like Angela Gobato, Christine Krause, you name it. It was glorious days. Learned a lot, learned from the best people, best designers, Peter Cazalet, John Kavica, Dickie Longhurst, you name it, Niels Hansen, Johan Engels. And then from there on, I get bored. My life has been like a 7-year sort of thing. Every 7 years, I sort of change. I also had the stint with the Cape then Artscape Puppet Company. We had our own puppet company, and we toured all over the place with a marionette company of 6 puppeteers. Keith Anderson, a huge influence in my life. Keith taught me an incredible amount in terms of design, in terms of concept, in terms of color, in terms of mood, in terms of, you name it. And then I got bored with that, and I went to the sound department, and I worked my way up there, became senior sound engineer. Eventually, I again learned from the best people, Robin Shuttleworth, Jeffrey Japter, Simon Mahoney, Cara Dowling, wonderful people. I operated sound then for a lot of the big shows, Evita, Into the Woods, Sound of Music, Annie, my best, Queen at the Opera, working with fantastic Mr. Brian Hill. And then I got bored again and I left. I went to Ratanga Junction, and there I became company manager, entertainment company manager. I also directed a live stunt show, wrote the puppet shows. So for 4 years, I worked at Ratanga Junction. My office was right underneath the Cobra. So I had a free massage every 3 seconds as that thing came rolling past. And then from there, I left Ratanga. I joined the team for the ICC Cricket World Cup opening ceremony. I was one of the artistic directors next to Keith Anderson, Veronica Paper, Charles Johan Lingenfelder, and a couple of wonderful people. We did the opening ceremony for the Cricket World Cup. I know I'm rambling like a mad thing now, but I did so much. I came back to Artscape, and I joined the Artscape New Writing Program with Roy Sargent, Fatima Dike, and the Artscape New Writing Program. Yeah, that was where I started designing seriously. Mostly plays. I did a lot of lighting design, stage design, and through the years I've moved on, did a lot of children's theatre. I've designed, as you know, for AJL Opera, and I've taken shows all over the world. We took shows to the Dublin Gay Theatre Festival, to the Singapore Arts Theatre Festival. We took Ont and Done to the Wiener Festwochen in Vienna. We took a wonderful play to the Black Theatre Arts Festival in North Carolina. Traveled the world with shows. And at the moment, I'm technical training program manager at Artscape Theatre, and I still do design work. Yeah, okay. In a
Wow,
nutshell.
that is quite a repertoire, and the names that you've worked with. I mean, it's amazing to just be in the presence with someone who's worked with those names. Wow. You've been all over. I mean, from Latanga Junction to puppetry, drag artist. It's a lot. And I think that is also why I love you as a mentor, because you've had so much experience. Wow.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
but today, with all that in mind, we will be discussing with you mostly set designing and being a technical trainer. Um, so, if you wouldn't mind, please, for the viewers, please explain to us what is the concept of designing a theatre or a show in theatre.
Look, theatre design is actually quite a new thing in terms of, I mean, the history of theatre. I mean, right up till Elizabethan theatre, they just performed on a platform and wore normal clothes and had a couple of props like a table or a chair, whatever they needed. So it was only really with sort of French theatre and with opera and ballet um, where sets became a sort of a thing. And even then, the sets were more decorative and didn't always contribute to whatever the content of um, the play or the ballet or the opera was. So I'd say 152 200 years ago, set design became a sort of thing. Lighting design only really recently, only since the movies, actually. I mean, it was normally just the electrician of the building did the lighting. Just the director will say, I want some light on there, make it blue or whatever, whatever. Lighting designers weren't even credited until, gosh, in the 30s, 40s, maybe.
Wow.
Um, so, so set design is a complex thing. You've got to work with so many different people. You've got to know your script if you're working on a play or an opera, your libretto. You've got to know the concept of your director. Sometimes the director doesn't have a concept and he actually wants you to come with a concept. You've got to understand the piece that you're working on. What kind of style are you going for? Is it a straightforward classical piece? Is it a modern piece? Is it impressionistic? And with dance, especially, it can be quite complicated. Because the design itself can be an art form. I normally try and this I learned from Roy Sargent. Is I find an icon for myself. Find one thing that I can base the whole design on. It doesn't have to be something obvious. It can be a seashell. It can be a bottle. It can be a spoon. It can be a statue. Fortunately, I love art as well. I did a lot of art when I was younger. I won lots of cups and chutas for art. So I can just sit and page through books and look at artwork. And whenever I'm overseas, and I get to London, I don't even eat. I run straight to the Tate Modern and I just go and plonk myself down there because that inspires me. Art. I'm paging through books of art, looking at something, and then trying to find an icon that your whole production can hang on. Obviously, something that your director or your producer um, also wants for the piece. And it's a very much a collaborative thing like that. Then the next thing is knowing the script, knowing that script backwards, understanding it, understanding what the author wanted. But not all productions are strictly dependent on the script. Sometimes it's a musical, sometimes it's a piece of music or a ballet or a dance piece. There's not always a text, and sometimes it's an improvised kind of thing. So it changes all the time. With every production, it's different. And then, of course, what your budget allows. Budget, budget, budget. The big B. Um, Thirdly, your space. You've got to know what space you are designing for. Your actual theater, or sometimes it's not even theater. Sometimes you have to create, like going to Grahamstown. You arrive there, there is a hall, a gymnasium, 'n PT saal waar die kinders oefeninge doen. Jy
Oh,
lyk hy
the
stoei terwyl jy
memories.
daar inloop. Yeah, and now you've got to actually make a theater out of this dingy bloody hall with one tiny dressing room and a toilet that doesn't work. And then you got to start creating in that atmosphere, and you've got to be creative at the same time. You've got to serve the production. Always serve the production. Your design, whether it's lighting, whether it's sound, whether it's costumes, you are there to serve the material, not
Mm.
to serve yourself. If everybody walks in, the curtain goes up, and they all applaud the set, and then nothing else happens, then you have actually failed. If people afterwards go, wow, that set was great. If the set isn't even mentioned, but they rave about the show, you as a designer can pat yourself on the back because you have served the product. So it's very much a collaborative work, working with your wardrobe, working with sourcing stuff. In South Africa is very difficult. Um, when you're in London, when you're in New York, when you're in Germany, in these places, you can walk across the road and you can pick up anything from any shop. Yeah, as you know, as a person who works backstage, to source props. Oh my word! I mean, sometimes it's something, and there's always one prop. You can ask anybody. I mean, through the years, I've had the wonderful fortune of working with the most incredible props mistress, master, Rochelle de Villiers. Rochelle, I love you. And God Almighty, so there's always one prop. In every show, there is one prop. And then, of course, you and then you decide, okay, this show, I had a wonderful experience a couple of years ago with Matthew Wild, working on a show called Dalliances. And I was production manager on Dalliances. And the color scheme for the entire thing was gray, yellow, black, and white. And all the props had to be yellow. And it was the season for blue. You think I find anything yellow anywhere? Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. But anyway, we did it. We did it. But as you know, so yeah, so design, that's the main thing. Finding an icon, finding something that says something to you. As I say, it can be anything. Um, a word in the script can be as the waterfall that suddenly just waterfall, and then from that a water fountain, or from a plant that is mentioned, or something, and a good writer, as I said, a good writer. I've read some really crappy scripts in my life as well, but a good script, a good writer, there is something. It's not always something that's done on purpose, but there's something in that creative process that comes out that tells you this is your icon. And it, as I say, it does not have to be something that ends up on the set itself. It can be, but something you latch on and you revolve around there. We did a wonderful play called Beethoven in Raptors, when early on in the Artscape New Writing program, that Michael Mitchell, also a wonderful designer, who designed, and it was about Beethoven. And Michael's icon was a loudspeaker. Now, what has Beethoven got to do with a little loudspeaker inside a radio? But he based his entire design um, around that. And it sounds crazy now, but once you've got something like once you've got that hook that you can hook onto, so whatever after that you put onto your design, if it doesn't fit into your icon, then you know you're off your path. All right. At the same time, never limit yourself. I mean, if you see the initial drawings and then what ends up on stage, they are completely different. It's like Andrew Lloyd Webber's musicals, um, his wonderful musical Love Never Dies. The main theme was originally written for, I think, for aspects of love, for another show. The Music of the Night in Paint for the Opera was written for a completely different show, ended up in that show. And the same goes with design. You can't be precious. You cannot be precious. You have set your heart on that beautiful red curtain's going to fly in at the end of Act 3, and then your director comes on the final rehearsal and says, "Oh, Alfred, that like cock." And then you go, "Okay, my heart is ripped to shreds, but what is good for the show is what is good for the show." So yeah, that's my idea about design.
With because obviously I've worked with you on multiple shows, and you always work with a mood board. I've never seen you working without a mood board, either costume designing or set designing. Do you think everyone uses that and it is important, or what is your opinion on that?
For me, it's important. Um, I'm nowadays I work with modern mood boards. It's like a PowerPoint presentation from hell with over 400 slides and stuff that just go junk, 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 junk. Once I put everything together that I've researched, colors, da 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 da, I look at it every third day before I even start drawing, and then I take out 12 of the slides that don't make sense anymore. Then I sleep on it and sleep on it, and then the next day I take out another 12 until eventually I move to about 200. But yes, I think it's important because visually you have an idea in the middle of the night or whenever, and then you need to give yourself some time to come back to it. And then when you look at it again, you have funny feedback on the sound. Um, you look at it again 2 days later and you go, I know that was a great idea, but suddenly that color is not. And then you go into rehearsals. Look, by the time rehearsals happen, your design should be done. But we know it doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. And you go into rehearsal, and what the purple that shouted at you, suddenly there's a wonderful actor on stage, Nicola Hannekom or Armand Oukamp, or one of these wonderful pieces, people, Royce and Stoppels, and they bring color, they bring timbre. So it's important for the designer to go to rehearsals, watch rehearsals, and you see, okay, and I love blue. I koi blue everywhere I can. Sometimes I can be quite obstinate about my blue. But the actor brings another color to you and says, okay, no, this is not blue. This is not a blue. I know you've got your heart set on blue. Then you go and change your mood boards again. And then you can, the next day you wake up, you look at your mood board. So to me, that's very important, the mood board.
One of the most important questions I do want to ask you. You've worked on a multiple shows with extreme tight budget, but yet you
Mm-hmm.
made it look absolutely stunning and beautiful. What is your secret?
I'm the queen of rubbish, darling. I got a, I, I mean, my first Fleer Cup nomination for set design was basically a set that I picked up from a rubbish heap. Literally, I took a bucket to a rubbish heap and I started collecting crap.
Oh wow!
And um, no, not entirely. The little bits and pieces were built, obviously, but the majority of the set was a rubbish heap. You learn, especially with drama. There's no money for drama. There's no money for drama. There used to be in the bad old apartheid days where geld was gooid around like tolbosse in die Karoo. Today there's no money. I still believe that you cannot just put a table and a chair and a door frame down and call it a set. I'm terribly sorry. I don't want to insult anybody. That's furniture. That's props. People arrive at a festival, and my set is arriving now. And I put my bucket on, and I was still in a box in a blompo. I don't buy it. Sorry. Use your imagination. You can use your imagination. Look, I've been lucky working at Artscape. There's a huge workshop full of old bits and pieces of stuff. And whenever I get to see an email or a memo that are going to trash some sets, I run in there and I save whatever I can save. And I try to be as creative as possible and recycle things. You can recycle. You can today, the door frame, you take the doors from this door and you put it on the door frame of another set. You paint it another color. You invent, you create. I've been fortunate over the years with my designs. I've worked with a wonderful Ibrahim Ismail um, from the Artscape. We used to do the Artscape workshops. A fantastic man, also a creative man. When you work with people that understand, not just a carpenter. He's not a carpenter. He's a creative person. You can create something. So, yeah, shoestring. I know about it. I know about shoes without even a string. And as I say, recycle, but be imaginative and don't think you know it all. Ask people, what do you think? Ask the crew. Let me tell you how many times somebody in the crew who sits there quietly, who only does the scene changes, and you just call that person and say, what think you? And you will be amazed. They sit there, they see show after show after show after show. They've got an opinion and they've got an eye and they know what works. They've seen what doesn't work. It's collaborative. It's collaborative. And actors, there's some wonderfully imagine it. They're on a stage. They want to be an actor, and they are an actor. But somewhere in the back of their mind, they used to paint when they were kids. They used to build little. They might come from a poor home like me, where we didn't have toys. Dat jy met suurvygies en sigaretstokkies het jy jou diertjies gemaak en jy. Sorry that I'm going into Afrikaans now. But
Perfectly
you
fine.
create. You create. And that is what the creative is about, you know. You can take, I mean, the Dickie Longest has taught me how to take a pile of rubbish and turn it into the most love. Ilka Love, also fabulous. I mean, the creative juices that flow from these people. And these are all people that can take a box of junk and make something spectacular.
You mentioned something now about someone at a festival arriving with a table, and I actually want to jump back to that because one of the questions I do want to ask you is, what is the one thing that you hate to see when someone is designing a show?
A table, a box, and a plant.
I was
No,
expecting that.
no, no, no. No, I'm not trying to be flippant. I know people don't have imagination sometimes, or they don't have the access to somebody to guide them. I don't. There's no hate. I mean, I've seen some terrible designs, and mostly it was when the designer is on his own pluck, and it's just a bloody wank, and it's got nothing to do with the actual production, and they insist because they've got a contract and somehow they've got the last say and they want red balloons in that scene and it doesn't belong there. It doesn't, and its the budget is now already 3,000 rand over because of fucking red balloons. It has to come from Italy, and the string for the balloons have to come from France, and the gas for the balloons have to come from the UK. I'm terribly sorry. That's just a big fat, excuse my French, wank. And that's the one thing I detest. Don't, if you're going to throw up, go and do it in the toilet. Don't come and do it on the stage. Your design needs to serve the production. It's a collaborative thing. And when I see something that, and now lately with AV, I know AV is the thing, with LED walls, with projection, whatever. I mean, you sit there and you go, what am I watching? A play or a movie? You know, if you want to go direct a movie, go and direct a movie. If you want to design a movie, go and direct a movie. I've seen some brilliant AV work, map projection. My hero, Willem Disbergen. Willem, I love you. He's sensitive. He does work. He works with the dancers. He works. He sits and creates. It's not, you're not sitting there and you put 3, 4, 5 minutes. You're watching an AV and you go, oh shit, there's actually a show going on as well. You know, that is what gets my guts, is when things are just working against. I'd rather have a table, a chair, and a box and a plant than have a 4 million rand design that works completely against the show. A perfect example was, as I mentioned earlier, Love Never Dies, Andrew Lloyd Webber's famous sequel to The Phantom of the Opera. Here's my badge. Oh, quite laughing. The design was appalling. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, Christine's bedroom or dressing room was like a huge, giant vagina on that stage. And I mean, I'm going, what am I looking at? And I can't sit and look for 10 minutes and try to understand what the hell am I seeing. And I'm not even listening to the actors or the artists because what the hell is going on? You know, and a backdrop. And, oh, God, there was stuff that was just so awful. It was anyway, so yeah, if the design doesn't serve the show, then sorry, then you haven't done your work, you haven't done your research. You will see good designers. Young, what's his name, Neil Griffin. He
Neil
runs
Griffin, yeah.
like a mole thing to find stuff, to source things, to go and look at stuff. Then this is good. No, that's not good. That is a designer. You've got to be on the ball. You've got to chop, and you've got to change, and you've got to be with it. And especially, I've worked on a lot of new shows. It's one thing if you're doing a My Fair Lady or Oklahoma or a Put on the Roof. It's been done for how many years? There are so many references. when we're doing a new production, a new play, a new dance drama, then you've got to, oh, you can't put this on. I hope you're not seeing what's coming up on my screen.
No, no, we're not.
Okay, cool, cool. It's my WhatsApp in there. So that irritates me. If the design does not serve the show, and if I see 800,000 rand being spent on rubbish, then I get really angry.
I must say, I think for me personally, why I always come to talk to you is because you dialect and you say it as it is, which is good and it's refreshing. You don't take, you sit in wit doekies om dit nie, which is good.
Uh-uh. I can
And
do a
I
lot
think
with a Vituki, but
no, I know you and your white cloths, all that you want to do always with your white cloths. It's you're known for it. Um, as yeah, what would you say is your favorite show that you have designed?
oh no, that's difficult. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I'm the tent with the wonderful Megan Furness. Um, one of my favorites, and Christmas from Map Jacobs. I love designing. I've designed it. I've designed it and redesigned it 5 times now. You don't get that opportunity often. Because every time it moves venue. The first time I designed it, David Kramer was directing, and it was fantastic to work with David Kramer, who's got such a complete different, him coming from the almost sort of a musicals kind of world, and getting into his mind. So yeah, designing a map first of all for David directing it, then I directed it myself, and then I had to redesign it for myself, and I had a lot of fights with myself. I would sometimes curse the designer and go, "Where's that designer?" Oh, it's me. Okay. Oh well. Okay. I'm gonna take my Becca. Uh, so yeah, those are two. Yeah, I'm. Those are my two favorites. I must say, the tent with Megan and um, Christmas. I must say, I did a play with Roy Sargent called Mary and the Conqueror, which we
Oh
took
yes.
to the International Dublin Gay Theatre Festival, with Anne Wilson, Armand Aucomp, Adrian Pierce, and Francis Chaulier. And that was a huge challenge. The script was difficult. It was set but those are challenging things. It was this. It was set. It's all it says in the script is Mary, which is Mary Renault, is sitting on a beach, and the waves are rolling in, and the next thing, a naked Alexander the Great washes out on the beach, and it doesn't say anything more about set or any indication. The rest is just
Wow.
dialogue. So that was a incredibly creative challenge. And it was a lot of redrawing and drawing and new models made and old models made and quite in and quite out but it was fantastic. It was absolutely awesome. Um, and I loved it. A lot of people loved the set, but I mean, you always get the one. There was one person I loved it. It was when Twitter was just starting, and somebody tweeted, I'm not going to mention their name. They said, I don't know what people are saying, but Alfred Rietmann is a designer. But Mary's set was dreadfully dull. And I thought, it's fine, darling, if you find it dull.
Oh wow.
You got to take the punches, otherwise you won't survive.
No,
But yeah,
definitely.
Mary and the Conqueror was a special challenge. And when you overcome a challenge and you end up with um, very few designers are happy at the end of the day. You either want more money, or you want a better director, or you want better actors, or you want, there's always, you sit down opening night, oh, look at that, I should have changed that. I knew. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. And then once in a while, something comes along, like Mary, and it's opening night, and you sit back and you go, hey, man, Boyki, job well done. I don't care who says what, I'm happy. And then that's a good feeling. That's a really good feeling.
I wanted to ask next now, what is the most difficult show you designed? But I think
Yeah.
May the Conqueror will take that answer.
Look,
Moving
it
a
gets
little
more
bit.
difficult. Yeah, sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, sorry.
No,
Continue.
sometimes what a difficulty is different. Sometimes people want or ask a Franco Zeffirelli Paris Monte Carlo Met Opera set, and they've only got 300 Rand budget. I'm not mentioning any names. Anyway, carry on.
You can tell me at the smoking area when we're back at Artscape.
I know.
Then you can.
When we're allowed to smoke again.
Ah, yes, that's another story.
Okay. Okay.
um, moving a bit away from the designing, you are also currently training the technical trainees from Artscape Technical Training Program
Mm.
that used to be called ATA. I'm not sure if it's still called ATA actually.
Yeah.
What does that entail, and what? Please tell us a bit more about the program and what you are teaching the trainees.
Um, it's been very successful. It's called ATA because it's the Artscape Technical Training Academy. Um, it's been, I stand corrected, but it's been going since 2002, I think. Initially set up by another wonderful, wonderful lighting designer friend of mine, Mr. Kobus Rousseau. And between him and Mr. Michael Mars, the previous CEO of Artscape, and very much supported by Dr. Marlene Leroux, current Artscape CEO, and our technical director, Mr. Marius Golding. We all felt it was absolutely crucial we put back into the industry, into the technical industry. And we felt we needed it to be formalized. So the Technical Training Academy was started. It started off as a 3-year course. It's now a 1-year program. It's an internship. People need to apply for it. It's on the Artscape website. Then we do interviews, and we take a large variety of people across the board with different levels of experience. Some with no experience, some with lots of experience, and it comprises of theory. The first 3 months, there's a lot of theory involved. I teach like the history of theatre technology, the development of theatre technology, right back from ancient Greece and Roman theatre, all the way through to medieval theatre, Elizabethan theatre, Molière, Commedia dell'arte, right into the Golden Age, Elizabethan, and into the New Age, into Brechtian, you name it, Beckett, and into the Broadway musical, da 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 da. It involves various segments: musical appreciation, set design, costume design, wardrobe, front of house, um, health and safety is a big one of the main courses. Lightning, yeah, did work. Lighting, lighting, sound, stage management, production management, every aspect of technical theatre. The young interns go through. After 3 months of basically doing mostly theory, we start putting them on productions and in various capacities, sometimes for 2 or 3 weeks in the sound department or in the lighting department or as a mechanist. And for those who don't know what a mechanist is, it's the person who sits up one floor up on the side of the stage and they press buttons, they pull levers, and they make the sets fly in and out. In the old days, it used to be done by the head carpenter. Now there's a fancy name for a mechanist. Nowadays, under mechanist, you also get your people that do your revolve work and your stage lifts and your stage automation. Another big aspect, only the last 3 years I've been teaching stage automation as well in my classes, because that's very much
Oh,
part of modern theatre technology. So yeah, so then they go out and they work practically on shows. Always, albeit coming back to the classroom every end of the month, every end of 2 months, where we recap, where I go through, we do assessments, where they're at, what they are not at. They move on. So each intern manages to basically work in every aspect of theatre backstage, from assistant stage management. Some of them, get dumped. You were an intern, and you suddenly get dumped to actually stage manage a professional show while you're still an intern, and you get thrown in the deep end, and you either sink or you swim, and Dion, you swam. That's why you are where you are today. So those
Thank
things
you.
happen.
But I mean, I appreciate that.
Suddenly you're still sitting having your diet coke or whatever and your milkshake in the canteen, and somebody says, "We need a follow spotter. We need a follow spotter," and you've never follow spotted in your bloody life, but you run and you get up there and you say, "How does this thing work?" And the choreographer is shilling blue bloody murder. Where's my follow spotter? And you switch on and you hope for the best and you pray and you bid and you gaan maar aan and you sweat, but you get through it. And that's the way it goes. And the next thing you know, hey, I like this follow spotting thing or whatever. So yeah, so the technical program is very important. We've had a huge success over the years. Um, I would say 85 to 90% of the technical trainees manage to find work in the industry. Sometimes not necessarily. I've got kids. I say kids. Sorry, Mornay. uh, People that come straight out of the internship and straight onto big shows like Matilda or Cats or Phantom of the Opera. They start touring the world. Some take the skills they learned back into the community with community theatre. Adrian has taken his skills he learned all the way back to Mosselbaai, where he's basically running his own little theatre now. So, yeah, it's a great program. I enjoy it. I love it. I love working with young people. They keep me on my toes. Um, and it's exciting because there's new questions. Technology is changing so fast all the time. I'm very old school with certain things. At the same time, I like the marriage of old school and technology. And there's some fascinating people always in the building, especially at Artscape. We have such a wide variety from an ice show the one day to a musical the next day, to a ballet, to an opera, to an operetta, to a jazz art piece, to dance umbrella, you name it. I mean, a mime show, a comedy show, Britney Spears, Michael Jackson. Okay, he's dead, but he's impersonating. You know, you know what I'm saying. It's such a variety of experience that can be that these kids. I'm saying kids again. I apologize, but you called me old woman, so what the hell? Um, that I can that is that the young people can be exposed to, and then take that into the industry with them. And we need it. We can't. I'm not going to be here for very much longer, and we need young people like yourself to get with the program. And you also find out within the first 2-3 months whether it's for you or not.
Yeah,
And if it's for you, as I gogga your bite, oh my word, that you've had it, you know.
there's
Yeah.
no way
So
of getting out of that again.
no. When you go to
Yeah, no,
Grahamstown and you sit and you suckle in and you get cold and you work hard, yeah.
Grahamstown, the memories. But Barflum,
Um,
why are you doing this to me, Alfred? I tried to forget about that. No, I mean, working
One
in
toilet
Artscape.
between 58 actors.
Oh,
Sorry, yeah.
no, I just want to say, I mean, you say you're working in Artscape as well. You know, it's just amazing thing being in actual theater, and I think we most of us are quite lucky to be able to experience that sitting in your office, hearing
Yeah, yeah,
music all ears downstairs or something. Which
yeah,
from my side,
yeah.
I'm ecstatic about. And I think it's amazing thing to actually be able to experience that.
Yeah, as you walk down the corridors, I mean, some days, I mean, you from gosh, when they're rehearsing big shows there. I mean, the one day I will never forget it. My office was still on the third floor where Cape Town Opera is now, and and they were rehearsing Chicago in room 301, and I heard, we both reached for the gun. Da, 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 and I walk down the corridor in the music room next door. Somebody's singing La Traviata. I go past 207. There's Shakespeare on your tongue. You go to the other side. There's jazz art with some hip hop stuff going, and walk down to 351. There's Roy Sargent working on some Brecht play, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's just like it's like a hub. We have our quiet moments, but we also need time to reflect, And at the moment, we are having a lot of reflection time. And hopefully it will be over soon. We can get back to doing what we need to do and what we love doing.
Um, just before we get into the final part, there's one thing that I just remembered that you told me was the show that you did with the animals the guts and that sort of stuff. I think that was a Lois Sargent show, if I'm correct.
with animals.
Yeah, you mentioned a show a while ago that you did in the arena that you had to get animal guts at the butchery.
Oh my word! Yeah, yeah. No, it wasn't Roy. I'm not going to mention the director. Yeah,
Apologies, Mr.
sometimes
Sargent.
you need to do some strange things, and sometimes that can be really unpleasant. In terms of stuff that you need to source. I worked many years ago with a director that liked to backstage. He would have these little plates and he had pans on them, and he would fry um, fat, horse fat, and stuff to get that revolting, horrible dry smell into the
Wow.
auditorium. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, no, we have to do strange things, and then we're wonderful production design, but also a lovely designer. I don't get to work with him, unfortunately, as much as I would like to. Andrew Buerta. We did a production of Lohengrin, where we had 8 horses on stage. Now, it all sounds very well and fine, but the 8 horses only come on like 45 minutes into the show. So for the 45 minutes before they go on, and this is an opera, you have got 8 horses side stage doing what horses do in terms of bodily functions.
Oh wow, I can just
Not
imagine that.
not a pleasant working environment. No,
Oh,
no, no. And then some, and of course, I was then ASM, and of course, you must pick up the mess. The ASM. Yeah.
mm, wow. Okay,
Yeah, and
getting to the
I don't like animals on stage. I don't like animals on
yeah.
stage of any sort. I don't care if it's a dog or a cat or anything. I'm completely opposed against any animal on stage. Even the dogs in Annie. I nearly killed one of the dogs in Annie once when I was stage managing because the blackout happened and the bloody dog wouldn't budge. It was sitting there and a big flying piece had to come down right on top of where the dog was sitting. So I just didn't go with the fly cue and I switched on the working lights. And I said, dog, get off stage now. And it was a full house and I wrecked the crap to me. I said, I'm not going to kill the dog. I mean, goodness sake. I know it's a scene change and we're supposed to go into the next scene. A wall is flying in and the dog is just sitting. It wouldn't budge. No amount of biltong or droewors would get that bloody dog off the stage. So I just said, I don't care. I know it's a full house, but hulle moet nou maar cope met die working lights gaan aankry. I want up. I'm not going with the next light.
Oh,
Animals and children, yeah.
two of the biggest nightmares. Yes.
Uh,
Wow. Getting to the final part. I don't want to keep you much longer. I feel
yeah,
like
my
you
cat
have
is starting to do strange things here.
so I'm going to
Dig.
skip some of the questions that I wanted to ask in the final part. But one thing I do want to ask, is there anything that you think needs drastic change in the industry?
Yes. We need to stop bitching. We need to start working together. We need to start working together. We need to start working together. There's no space for egos. No space for egos. There's a lot of injustice and people who feel badly done by. And the only way that we can do it is through talking. We need to unionize, get together. This is what happened now with all this money fiasco. Um, um, I don't want to get into politics now, but as sports in South Africa is organized, we as theatre people need to get organized. Um, we need to get registered. I firmly also feel that there are too many fly-by-nights and untrained people who get into the industry, who are prepared to work for very little money. They are killing the industry. I have had personal experience at some festivals where they are completely undertrained, not interested, stage crew in the venue or stage technicians, either lighting or sound, that are not properly trained. They got the job because they come cheap. It's nonsense. They are undermining our job. They're undermining people like myself, people like you, people that have worked for many, many years, me 37 years professionally in the theatre, um, working hard to get where I am, to get the knowledge that I've got, and a lot of us. And I don't care if I'm unpopular after saying this, but it's not on. And we are not our um, remuneration, our payment that we are getting as designers, as stage technicians, are what they are because we are not properly unionized and we do not, there are no set standards. And any producer, and I do not blame producers, if I was a producer, I would also want to get the cheapest I can get because I want to make money. That is what a producer is. They want to make money and they have to make money. That is what keeps the industry alive. I'm not dissing any producers, but we as technical people have to get together and we need to talk to each other.
Wow,
Alex.
that is beautiful, beautiful said. I am actually speechless. But I'll get my words back. Last four questions, and then I will let you get back to Mr. Tiggs. Tiggs, yeah.
Mm. Dig.
Um, if you could give an upcoming young professional in the making advice, what would it be?
Go and do something else. No, it's hard work. It's hard work. But be a sponge. Be a sponge. Never think you know everything. You don't. Be a sponge. Ask people. A little example quickly. When I mean, I've been to London now a couple of times. Fortunately, and not because I can afford to get on a plane. It's normally I go to a festival somewhere else, and then I manage to get my ticket. I budget, and I go and spend a week or two in London. Live with friends in the toilet if I have to. I live on 2 croissants a day, but I go and see some shows. And you knock on the backstage door of the theatres in the London West End, and you walk in, you say, "Hi, I'm Alfred. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I work in theatre." And you won't believe how incredibly kind most of the people are. How those stage managers, they open their arms, they will take you on a tour, they will show you, they will share their experience, and you've got
Wow,
to ask. You've got to ask people. You've got to walk in brazenly, and of course, know your time as well. A beginner's call, and I want to go and talk to the stage manager. Um, but ask people, ask questions all the time, all the time. You're never too old, you're never too experienced to learn. And go and don't waste. I mean, when I get really angry is when the new show comes in, like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, or when we had the original designs for Evita, the Hell Prince production going up. And I see some of our technical staff sitting in the canteen. And I go, my God, go and sit in the auditorium. I know you're not called, but go and watch what's happening. You can learn. You can learn. You can always learn. It's the only way to better yourself. Learn, ask questions, steal. Steal with your eyes. Be a thief. Be a thief. When somebody else is doing a lighting session, oh, thank God, I can go and have a smoke now. Go and watch. Go and watch Fahim Bardeen work. Go and watch Wilhelm work. Go and watch
I
people.
agree.
Go and see how. Ask directors if you can come and sit in at rehearsals. Don't wait just for the show to come to the stage. Go to the rehearsal room. Most of the time they'll be nice about it. Some of the time they're going to be shitty about it. There's nothing you can do. But most of the time they will be nice, and that's the only way you can. You can go to varsity. You can go to college. You can learn, read as many books, watch as many YouTube videos of scene changes as you like. That's not going to happen. You've got to ask questions. You've got to be there, be in the moment, and don't be afraid. There's no such thing as a wrong question. There could be a wrong time to ask a question, so you've also got to be careful and be respectful. But yeah, ask questions, be respectful, and love what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, go and do something else. Really, it's not worth it. You're gonna have a miserable time if you don't like what you're doing. That.
Uh, and then lastly, what for you is the most helpful way to get feedback?
when the sound technician doesn't know what he's doing and the microphone goes in front of the speaker. That's feedback. Uh, um, as I got older, I don't really listen to feedback. My best feedback is sitting in the back of the auditorium and watching the audience. I don't really. I hear what people say. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, like how do
Feedback in terms of,
you
yeah. If I like to stand at the back of the auditorium and actually see what the audience experience is, and that is my feedback. If I see them, the minute that curtain goes up and they're completely absorbed, they're completely drawn in, and they get it, and when that curtain comes down and there's that moment of silence before the applause happens, then I know I've done my job. Um, I listen to people, some people, not everybody. You can't listen to everybody because you will get people have different, especially when it comes to lighting design and set design, people have different ideas.
Mhm.
And it's difficult. Sound, lighting, it's difficult. People's ears are different. People's eyes are different. I like blue. You like black. Somebody else likes pink. So if they go and see a show that's all blue and they really can't stand blue, it's not going to work for them, or not. It's not going to. The curtain's not going to go up, and there's this blue set, and I'm like blue. I go, oh my word, this is fantastic. I'm in my heaven. We're not all the same, So things are going to work differently for different people. And you also, when it comes to feedback, also you've got to keep that in mind. It's one person's opinion. If you're speaking to somebody, if you read a tweet, oh, we meant to see da 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 da, and I'm so tired of these old fucking theater moppies. Excuse my French. That has to always have bitch about something. And I go, darling, if you can do better, then come and do it. Really. But I mean, just because you don't like that, sorry, we didn't do it for you. As Frankenfurter said, I didn't make him for you. It's for the general public. It's the audience is important. The audience, the audience, the audience. They are paying our salaries. They are buying tickets. Our audience is important. Don't mess with them. Don't moenie afpraat na hulle toe nie. Don't treat them like babies, and also don't put them up there like gods. Give them entertainment that they paid the money for the ticket for. They're there to be entertained. I mean, theater is the most absurd thing ever. Where it doesn't make any sense. A person standing on stage and there's 300 people sitting there, paid money to watch another person put on a costume being somebody that they're not. It's absurd. But there's a collectivity. When people go to the theater, and the human spirit needs that. They need that collective breathing in, that collective breathing out. It's why religion is so important. It's why look at the geest at the World Cup rugby or at a game, because there's collective feeling. People are in a group collectively. They are finding some emotional attachment to something, and that is good for the human spirit. So yeah, our audiences. The audience is my best critic. If they like, I'm happy. If they don't like, then I can relook at what I've done.
And before I let you go or send you off back into lockdown, do you have any closing words?
Just no. Love what you do. Just love what you do or do something else, please. If you want to work in the theater, you've got to love what you do. You've got to, I mean, I think back now at my dear, dear friend, Auntie Esther, who's now passed away. I mean, that lady, the love, she's there early in the morning. She wants to be there. You are an
Mama,
example,
yeah.
Dion. You walked in, you were the strangest fucking little person that walked in. But you it was the love was pouring from you. And that is what we need. We need people with passion. We need people with love. And we need people with compassion and empathy, because that is what theater is about.
Wow.
Creativity. We're all creative people. Creative, and some are creative with their money. Look at our parliament. Um, oh, this is live. um, but yeah, people can be creativity is all over the place, but passion. Compassion, empathy. That's my last words. Now I'm going to zoom
Wow.
in onto my back.
Um, Thank you so much, Alfred. This has been
You're welcome.
absolutely a delight speaking to you and just hearing your opinions on so many different matters. And I'm honored to have you here. And once again, thank you for being a mentor for myself and all the other young individuals out there. I can personally say that you have shaped my career in many forms, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving us your time. And I
Mm,
hope you stay safe and
mm,
do the
mm.
mask, do the hand sanitizer, all that. And I hope to see you soon in the smoking area
Yes,
at Artscape.
yes, yes. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. Good night. Wow, what an amazing conversation. I That was breathtaking. I cannot say thank you enough for Alfred. I absolutely loved every moment speaking to him. I was in laughing basically the whole moment because he's just so amazing. Um, lastly, we just want to do our shout out to the Broadway Stage Management Symposium, which is happening this weekend. Whoop whoop. So if you want to register, you can still register. It's running out. Time is running out. Get your stuff. Um, I'm getting their stuff quickly on. End of May. Register. It's going to be an amazing program. I know some of the South African stage managers has already joined. Amber is joining. I think she's still watching. I'm not sure if she is. And she absolutely loves the program, which is lined up. So join. That's the first thing. And then secondly, as you all know, we have our merchandise store, which is open, and we are going to finish that now with the video of a merchandise store. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe. Wear your mask, hand sanitize, all that stuff. See you Friday at 7:30, same time, same place, where we will be speaking to Gilma Stander, makeup and special effects artist for South African theatre. Good night, everyone.